Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dave Emmons Show. And glad everybody can be here today. And I thank all of you for following the show and viewing our guests. We have some exciting guests, and I got one today that I've got so much on this guy. There's so much information on him. He's a physicist, and he's a scientist, and he's a researcher, and he's done all of his own work actually. And we have another co-host that'll probably be with us, Tom Outhouse. I'm waiting for him to jump in, and as soon as he does, I'll briefly introduce him, and the three of us will talk. Tom Outhouse is the one with the Matrix. He's written the Immortals, in which turned into the Matrix. And this is what my guest, Mike Emery, he talks actually about the Matrix, among many hundreds of other things. Let me introduce my guest for this day. This is Sunday, February 26th, 2023. And this is Mike Emery, a little bio here. He worked at the Self Head Muchenfug, and just figure that one out. And he studied physics at the Montana State University, Bozeman, and he's on Facebook. You can find him on Facebook, and he's figuring out the workings of the universe, and man has he. He's done both sides of the fence, religion, meditation, and on one hand, and from very frontiers of physics on the other hand. On his way to enlightenment. Now he's consciousness. He's into that. We're going to be talking about that also, but he's into the enlightenment part. He's leaving a trail of written essays and research papers, and there are many of those, and we'll get into those just in a second. And it's where he orders his own thoughts as much as communicating them to friends and colleagues. He actually teaches scientists. He doesn't teach students. He's not a professor per se, but he teaches scientists about what he writes and what he has figured out. And I talked to him the other night. He blew my mind about most of the things that we talked about. The purpose of his article is he talks about space and where essays and they're collected and made available to everybody that wants to read them. He's on academia.edu. I'm on that site also, and he's got many papers published on there. Mike is no ivory tower man. He was a cowboy in Montana when he started off. He's from the USA, but he lives in the UK now, and that's where he makes home. And he played football, and he was apparently quite good at football. He was into commercial fishing. He was into oil exploration, and he's done some business enterprises in Alaska in oil. His subsequent search led him to free energy, healing, meditation, anti-aging, and complementary medicine to the edges of physics and back. And my goodness, I can spend a long time talking about this man, but actually he's been, I guess you can say, he's had the mind of a lot of different people that has been uploaded to him, downloaded to him. We're talking about General Patton and other people. He'll talk about some of those that as we go along. This academia.edu, he's had publication types 13,431, and I've seen his publications on academia.edu, and they're really great. He gets into levitation, telepathy, trance music. Okay, telepathy, not telepathic, but he's also into teleportation, and he'll get into a lot more. But it's just too wide to really be talking about or putting a long intro in it, because that'll take a half an hour. But Mike Emery, buddy from UK, do you have anything to, I guess, add to that? This is, I kind of jumped around in your bio just to try to cover a lot of space in a short time. What do you got to say to people?
I lived in a monastery too. That particular monastery studied enlightenment, so I'm crystal clear on enlightenment. You can ask me about that later.
Oh,
It's
all right.
not what we think it is.
Yeah. Uh, what
Never is.
yeah, what brought you into this? I know I read something about that you got into the miracles and manifestations and that type of thing and consciousness. what actually got you changed around and going into doing all these research papers and all this scientific work, Mike?
Not just reading books, and tons of books, like virtually all the Seth books, all Carlos Castaneda books, uh, a number of the Edgar Casey books. What else? The Montauk Project's books, all four of them. The Secret Life of Plants by Christopher Bird and Peter Tompkins, got to be a Bible. Excellent book. It goes on like that. I read a shitload of books, and after a while, I got to where I don't need to read books, because I won't say that I know it all, but I really do know exactly how it works. And the mystery of that is zero, because there's only one rule that applies to everything. Matter doesn't exist; it's all consciousness, and consciousness obeys one rule. That's God's law, which is I am that I am, since like attracts like, since mirroring. It's a holographic universe. It just all mirrors off. Any one speck, just a speck in that hall of mirrors, and you got a whole multiverse. And on and on like that. It's basically what I am into is consciousness physics, and it's provable that the very apparent that I am the most advanced spiritual physicist that's ever been. And that's a big thing, to say that's ever been, but it's true. It's like ridiculous. And it's verifiable because the technology that I've got, that we've developed, does teleportation. It does telepathy. It does levitation. Okay, well, teleportation and telepathy are freedom for the human body.
Mhm.
That breaks us out of the matrix. And it gives us freedom to travel in the ethers anywhere we want. There is no there, and so the neat thing about teleportation is it's instant.
Now, Mike, could you explain to the people what the ether is, and what it's made up of?
Oh, the ethers, yeah, that's a huge deal. Science, physics have been leading us astray forever, and the way that they do that is by not recognizing the ethers, because Einstein said they didn't exist as a result of the Michelson-Morley experiment, which was done in 1897 or 87, way back then. And they were looking for ether drift, and they weren't able to do it. And so about the same time that Einstein was saying that the ethers didn't exist, there was a guy named Dayton Miller that was replicating the Michelson-Morley experiment, which is an excellent experiment. It's been replicated innumerable times, both by Dayton Miller and by others. And it's the ether. All of them have proved that the ether drift. Okay, so Einstein wrote to somebody, I've got it somewhere, that if Dayton Miller's experiment proves ether drift, then it cancels relativity. He knew that. And Dayton Miller's experiment worked and proved ether drift, and he just forgot it. Well, probably the cabal got him to forget about it, because they don't want us to know about the ethers. Once we start knowing about and working with the ethers instead of against them, we get into freedom. Then you can get into telepathy and teleportation, levitation. All that stuff is very simple when you realize that you're just a piece of space within space, and so you can go anywhere you want.
Right. Yeah. Now the ETs have that technology. They can go into the ether space, and because they demonstrate that telepathy and also teleportation. I just want to remind the people out there that's listening to you now that you are in the top 1% of most listened to.
One tenth of 1%.
1/10 of
76 million. 76 million researchers,
right.
12,000 institutions.
Yeah.
Top 1% have been that way for years.
Yeah. And I read that and I thought, oh my goodness. And then I saw it on academia.edu, and it's something like 176,000 people are on academia.edu, and those are scientists and different types of specialists.
Oh, 76 million. There's 76 million.
76 million all around. Okay, all around the country, all world. Okay, all right. I was just talking, I guess, about the U.S., but it's very interesting. I saw that, and it's amazing that how much you know about this stuff. And I was amazed that when we had our long chat the other night, that I just come away from it thinking, wow, I got a lot to digest. Mike, could you just
it's like
you just tell us a little bit what you were telling me? Now, I was just saying I'm into the ET thing. I've written a couple of books. So what do they want, and also a war book, Senseless Wars, and then the Angel book and the supernatural entities. I'm all into this, and what you're talking about is the scientific side of the things that I've been seeing, and you're saying that we manifest these things and that life is just a movie. Is that right, Mike?
everything outside your eyeballs is a reflection of the movie going on behind it. The multiverse, the entire multiverse is, we make it every microsecond. Everything starts as a seed in darkness every microsecond, and then there's a electromagnetic sequence of events that occurs after that I've got written down, and it's without mystery because there's just one rule: like attracts like in mirroring, and when it's just so simple, it's ridiculous. If scientists would actually admit that the ethers are there, then they're going to have to come in contact with my information, or at least go down the same road, because they'll wind up at the same place, as has the Monroe Institute, which is another part of being the most advanced spiritual physicist ever. The Monroe Institute has made the deepest dive into consciousness of anybody, of any group, anywhere, because they do it via astral projection. And they can go to the past, and they can go to the future, and they can go everywhere in this universe, anywhere in the multiverse they can go. They have done. Okay. But they don't know about the ethers.
Is the dark matter?
It's amazing.
Yeah. Is it dark matter in space, ethers?
Excuse me?
Is it the dark matter, energy, and space that's made up of the ethers?
The ethers originally were made from love, and they're just lines. And it started out very simple. I am herself in space, inside a Planck length. This space is, the Planck length is infinitesimally small. It's 1 to the minus, I don't know, 33 or something, maybe. Nobody knows. Okay, but anyway, it's a real small space, and that's where herself started. And she was lonely. So the first thing that happened was loneliness, and then fear of loneliness. And so all of our karma belongs to her, because she foisted this shit onto us. Okay. And so she's there for a long time and wanting to identify herself. So she went, I am. That created a little half circle, a little half moon. Let me see. Yeah, a little half moon like that. Okay. And so I am, when she originally asked it, was a question. And so since there was nobody else there was only one answer. I am that I am, which created two little half circles. And those two little half circles, she loved them very much because it beat what had been going on, and so she started going, I am that I am, a lot, and that created the ethers. The two little half circles are made out of love, and love is self-attractive, so they pull together in circles. Okay. And then literally the lines of the ether are piezoelectric green, which you can see. Science, it's not like a mystery at all. Piezoelectric green is that's the color of the heart chakra. It's the color of love. All right. And so then the ethers are literally the lines of the circles attracted one another, and they pulled into squares. Okay. And then it goes on from there. It goes into rectangles and the pentagonal ethers, which are really interesting. is a boundary layer between the four-sided ethers and the hexagonal ethers. And then you go up to the seven-sided ethers, which are also a boundary layer and chaotic. And those boundary layers, like in the original darkness, are it's chaotic. Boundary layer chaotic. All of the even or odd-sided ethers are chaotic. You got 7 and 8. The planet and solar systems live in the eight-sided ethers, and then it goes on up to 12 that I know of, and maybe beyond that. I'm not sure. I see evidence for 22, but I can't see anything in between there. So that doesn't make sense. So I'm resting on 12 for now.
Now,
Yeah.
can you tell people how you get this information besides reading and studying and I guess bringing in your own thoughts and putting the pieces of the puzzle together? You get some downloads like like from famous people in the past. You mentioned a few.
All the time. Yeah, but it comes when I'm studying something, because my brain switched off and I'm absorbing information. And as I absorb information, anymore, I got to where I don't like to read very much because I'm always at the end of it, or during it, going, that's not quite right. Let me let me explain this a little bit better, And so every time I get involved in reading something, then I get these little voices, either myself or from inside of me. Actually, it's not outside. Nothing comes from outside of you. It's all comes from inside of you. And so I get these voices, and the voices we all get are from our own personal lineage. Things reincarnational cells. That's the very first set of entities that want to talk to us. And so, my entities are like Thor, Simon Peter. My horoscope shows that I'm Simon Peter, and he was a fisherman. I was a fisherman this life.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a mirror. And I've got all of these mirrors. Okay, so Simon Peter, Thor, grade school, high school, and college. I looked after all the bullies. There weren't any bullies around me. They went to the hospital instantly. And then Prometheus, that blew me away. And somebody on academia, said, "Well, you must be like Prometheus. You want to give away all these technologies." And so then I have all the advanced technologies. The replicators, I know how to make them, and I've got one designed that'll be a little bit bigger than what they've got, and hopefully it works. I don't know that it'll work, but it will do something. Mm-hmm. Physical age regression, they've got med beds. I've got what I call the dream machine, which is a step further than the med beds, much further. Like the Monroe Institute and the deepest dive that those guys made. Right. I'm ahead of them because they don't know about the ethers. Same with Edgar Cayce. I'm ahead of him because he doesn't know about the ethers or how they work. And so the dream machine imposes a etheric field, an ambient, naturally occurring etheric field on the body, thus entrains the body to that etheric field. Once you come in harmony with one etheric field, you're in harmony with them all. And you can mirror off wherever you want. And be careful what you think.
Yeah.
And so that's the dream thing. The dream, and also you can do shape shifting. You can do whatever. It's a non-polar field. Completely blank field, which is what it all starts with. That's what the nature of the ethers are. They have a structure. Squares and all that, and circles, squares, and triangles. They have a structure, but it's still blank. There's nothing there until Anu comes along. Anu, the first name of God in the Babylonian text and Sumerian text and Vedas, which populates every other etheric cell. And the Anu, it contains the two male forms of God. As the Hindu have known for a few thousand years, they call it the Shiva Lingam, which has Vishnu and Shiva in it, Vishnu being the preserver form, and right-handed spin and centripetal. And that's the DNA central spin of the Anu. And then the spin goes the opposite way around the outside. That's a Shiva spin. And it's centrifugal, as Victor Schauberger taught us. When you spin things in a centrifugal manner, that's death. It's life destroying. Well, if you spin things in a centripetal manner, like the DNA part of the Anu, it's life affirming and life holding together. But the big thing about Shiva is that it also is basically like a pixel. The Anu dissolves the information so we can have new stuff. Okay. And that's like the father energy, in a family. He's the guy that wants to be having fun with everybody, you know, and that's what Shiva is all about, it's having fun and letting go,
Right.
and so the lingam, the Shiva lingam, the most sacred shape in Hinduism, is worshipped as being the shape through which energy passes as it goes from formlessness to form, and vice versa, from form back to formlessness. And so you basically have the Anu, which is the information that passes into the Anu comes from darkness. Everything comes from darkness. Everything starts in darkness every microsecond by going, I am that I am. And then that's a seed, that's an image. That image travels up through the ethers progressively, which expand in size according to Fibonacci series, and they grow. The images grow because their etheric realms grow, right? And they're coming up through the four-sided ethers till they hit the pentagonal ether, which is an amplification system, and it's also where differentiation starts. And then it gets broadcast into the hexagonal ethers, where it's made manifest. Now, all of this, what I'm describing, happens in no time. It's instant. I mean, really instant. There's a blink rate to everything. And that's the replicator that I've got designed. It's called a blink rate machine.
Yeah, Mike, you
Once
mentioned
you get
earlier the female aspect of it. Is that the divine feminine figure that you said?
Yeah, right. But the space, that I refer to her as the old bitch, because she's the one that imposed fear and suffering, and suffering comes from darkness. It's a field of love. We have where we were. The field of love is changing to a field of euphoria, and you can see it happening. It's euphoria's color. The color of euphoria is light purple, and all the purple sunsets, and then even the ethers are going to light purple. But so we have a field of love all along, and because of the piezoelectric green nature of it and herself loving it. But herself stayed there in darkness. She hasn't done anything. Okay. And neither the two male forms of God. They haven't done anything, or they haven't done much, because they are the background screen. They are the basis of the matrix. The background screen, all of these ethers are like a mathematical matrix. You change, like all matrices, you change one box in the matrix and it changes the entire matrix.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done that. If they had, we'd know.
Right. What about, we talk about this matrix, and we also, you just said Anu. Is there any relationship to Anunnaki?
Yes and no. The Anu is a shape, like the lingam. It's the two male forms of God, period. Now, the Anunnaki have their sky god, who's named Anu.
Mm-hmm.
Well, excuse me, where did he get his name? And the answer is he conscripted it, from that particular shape. I don't know if you call it a sacred shape, but it's the aboriginal shape. Other than the ethers, the Anu is the aboriginal shape. The way the Anu came into being, herself making ethers, do the rule, I am that I am, like attracts like. And she'd been doing that for a long time, and she all of a sudden went, geez, I've been doing this for a long time. That time tried to go out in a straight line, which didn't work, of course, because of the rule. And so it had to circle back on itself. And so within the etheric cell, where this first time component started, it spun on it. And you can actually see that when you look at the proper pictures of the Anu, you can see the little circular pigtail at the bottom of it. And then it goes up through the middle, one spin, it has not a helix yet until it comes back down. And it goes up to the top in this etheric cell, runs into the wall of the ether, and has the head back because of the rule, like attracts like, I am that I am. And so as it's heading back, the spin continues in the middle, which portends a spin on the outside, which is the Shiva part. And then it comes back down the middle and goes back up. And then you got the double helix, and then it comes back down on the outside, and you can actually see it. The Hindu have known about the Anu for a long time, and the rishis have gone in and actually seen it and made drawings of it. And nowadays, with Kirlian photography, I have videos of it.
Now, do you think that a lot of these, like Hindus and Buddhists and all these other religions, were taught by somebody out there or an advanced society, Mike?
Well, we taught each other, and there's nobody out there. There's only inside of us. Okay, there's nobody, not one son of a bitch anywhere outside of us. No, it doesn't exist. Okay, it's all inside of us. Like I say, anything you see is a reflection of the movie that's going on inside of you, and it's all made of consciousness and is malleable, right? But we collectively, humans, every one of us, inside of our subconscious, they know. Look it up. Our subconscious processes data equivalent to 10,000 feature length movies all playing at the same time. Therein lies the images for the entire multiverse. We make it every microsecond. and there's a collective part to it, obviously, because there's the Maharishi effect and the 100th monkey effect, which I boiled down to what I call the 100th idiot effect, because, excuse me, idiots, see, as you're making all this, why did you make a shit show? That was the point I wanted to get to earlier about the ethers.
Yeah, the shit.
The ethers, the whole etheric realm is made out of love. The Anu is made out of one part time and the other part love. So the whole etheric background screen is made out of 2 parts love and 1 part time. Excuse me, where did suffering come from? And who invented it and why? If you want to be a real spiritualist like Merlin is, Merlin ascribes the same power to the white side as the dark side. And so I did a deep dive on suffering. You know where I wound up? In the same place everything comes from. Darkness. It's the only place it could have been manifest. Okay, well, excuse me, why? It's got to be a good reason.
Yeah.
And the answer is all knowing is boring, and suffering is a complete disconnect from all knowing. And so we, as pure conscious, there's a level to ourselves that I mentioned to you earlier, about our pure consciousness or our observer self, which anybody would. We all can get in touch with our observer self by just noticing that you're thinking or emoting, either one. Okay, excuse me, who noticed? The answer is the part of you that doesn't think nor emote. Okay, that's your pure consciousness that doesn't feel much. Okay, and has no memory. Everything passes through, because in darkness there's no structure, and so there ain't anything to plaster a memory on. And all of the memories and all the shit show was plastered on the ethers, and herself and her making of the ethers and himself, the Anus, supported that. Okay, as is obvious. So
Mike,
we can't describe a whole lot of divine intelligence to them fellers.
Right, Mike, can you tell us where was the beginning of time or thought or consciousness? Where was the
the beginning of consciousness? It's just like I described. I am that I am, and Edgar Cayce called it also. And he did it before me, and I didn't know that he'd done it. And then when I finally stumbled across his the channeling that he did about the beginning of consciousness starts in darkness, and everything starts in darkness. Time, everything, all ideas, everything, creativity. Everything comes from darkness. And a way to get there is orgasm. But we've been cut off from that. It was in the Bible. It was to be taught to us in the Bible. And they cut us off from that, at the Council of Nicaea. And so now the dark side uses sex magic. And they learned it from Aleister Crowley. That's who I learned it from. then come to find out it was in the Bible. Greg Braden found that out, and then I've got an essay that lays it all out. And at the 325 AD, Council of Nicaea and Constantinople is where a lot of stuff was edited out of the Bible. And the same year was the same year that our good buddy Saint Augustine, come up with the original sin, which is found under carnal knowledge.
Can you
so we legislate against orgasm because it works.
Yeah, so
Meanwhile,
a lot
use it against us.
Yeah, a lot of us are thinking that history is not what we think it is, and you are a good example of the knowledge behind that. Who were these elites and these people who kept all these secrets away from us and made us live like we are now today, Mike?
They're our constructs. The whole cabal, the whole satanic crew is our construct. We did it for the purpose of maintaining separation from all knowing, because all knowing is very difficult to get away from, as evidenced by the massive extent of the losh that's been produced on this planet and all other planets in the solar system. Almost all of them been inhabited, even Mercury. Okay, and the losh production is the separation energy that we use to cut ourselves and suffering to cut ourselves off from all knowing. And so, since we manifest the entire multiverse, then we needed the Archon. We got herself to make the Archon for us when this multiverse started. And the way that happened was the first Anu forms up in the ethers. And when that Anu formed up, okay, it's her offspring. Normally, a mother nurtures it and does all that, doesn't she? Mm-hmm. This multiverse, she knew to go, what is it? To ask the question, what is it? Which is mana in Hebrew, it means what is it? It's a big deal, that question. And so there's a lot of other iterations of it. And so when she went to her offspring and went, what is it? That opened Pandora's box of judgment. And so it made the Archon, which, if people want to talk about there being evil, whatever, in this solar system, it all starts with the Archon. Okay. And the Archon have Anus, but they're Anus made out of one part time and the other part judgment. What is it? Okay. And so they can't grow because of judgment. But what they can do is they can get together and make images together, like the jinn are images, like Satan.
Right.
They make it. The Archon make it. The reason they make it is because we have added gains of function to the Archon so that they work better. So that we can make more losh and have more separation, and they eat our losh for us, our fear, and that's everybody knows. I mean, if you study the Archon at all, that's the Gnostics, had it pretty well nailed, but not quite. They don't know exactly where the Archon come from because they don't know about the ethers, And so the Archon are these little tiny supernatural bugs that can see the future and are multidimensional and needed to be, because they need to eat our shit before it mirrors off and amplifies all of these gaps, in the ethers. Analog amplifier, if you understand that. Analog amplifier is a capacitor with a grid in between, and the information goes into the grid and the gap, and then as it mirrors off, it amplifies. It actually performs a calculus function of integration, which solves for the area underneath the curve. And so the amplification is where you got x equal integral 2 sine y. Then the 2's got to come out from behind the integral and get squared, so it's 4 times as much. And so every time something mirrors off, it gains power and function, gains power. And so if the losh mirrors off through the multiverse, it collapses the multiverse, which we've collapsed a whole bunch of multiverses getting to this one. And this one, this multiverse is our favorite because it has the best shit show that we've ever designed, which has not collapsed the multiverse yet. It's not going to. Yeah. And we've been able to replay it and replay it and replay it. And it's so long, it's 4.5 million years long that we forget. And it's got all of this suffering and all this wars and stuff like that, and all this separation that goes on all the time. So you got the entire multiverse that's made by our subconscious, by us, okay, which includes this shit show that we've designed, which is put together scene by scene, just like any other movie, okay? And some of those scenes didn't work out too well because it collapsed the multiverse, so they had to start over again. Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of the scientists, your buddies, they're actually saying that we're holographic and we're also in a matrix and we're computer operated by some supreme being. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, the supreme being is us. It's like the supreme beings, are herself and himself. Herself being space and everything within space. The Hindus call it Brahma, and then Vishnu and Shiva, or Vishnu is Jesus and Shiva is God the Father, and those two himselves, they make up the background screen. Okay, everything that's manifest within the background screen that we look at as being our reality springs from our subconscious. We're the creators. We're the ones that are creating it. They, our two mother and father, they just let us do whatever we want to do, because it's entertaining to them too.
So we're recycled back and forth, and we have all this inside of us, and we call it gut feelings, but you're saying that this is from prior past lives. And then let's get into reincarnation, Mike. My guest is Mike Emery. He's a physicist and very knowledgeable about all these things that you're listening to, and he's for real. I've looked him up, I've vetted him, and he is for real, because we talked, and I know that he knows a lot of stuff. But what about this reincarnation? I know a lot of people wonder about that, and religious people also wonder about it, and they don't think it's true. But Mike, what do you think about that?
Well, it's idiots can't die. All humans are idiots. We're puppets of the movie. And so you can't die. And the reason you can't die is you don't get to get away. Well, it's not that bad. We choose to stay here, because it's entertaining. We're entertaining one another, and even though we're replaying the exact same shit show over and again, over and over. I mean, the number of times that the shit show is replayed is ridiculous. Okay, so if you have the entirety of history, the entire solar system, the entire multiverse, all replaying every microsecond, then what about the idiots that are involved? They replay too.
So what perpetuates?
I've never explained it that way, but it's true.
Yeah. But what perpetuates this shit show, as you call it? It's the elites, and you mentioned the Vatican, and
the elite. Now, love. If any of these fluffheads, these metaphysical fluffheads, I call them, would spend more than 2 brain cells in more than 2 seconds thinking about what's the end result of love and collecting all the love you could ever imagine, where do you wind up? And the answer is in a big, massive, loving multiverse. The first multiverse is made out of love entirely, wherein there is continuous orgasm and crescendos. It is the ultimate purgatory, because it's very hard to get away from. And there's no creativity going on there. That's why we don't like it. Boring, and really boring. Boredom is the reason for the shit show.
yeah.
All knowing. The minute we escape from, as pure consciousness is, the minute we escape from the continuous orgasm, the next split second we're into all knowing, you know, and because you get out of it, and so all of us here have escaped from that multiverse, and so I have a kind of a theory, which is not much of a theory. Kind of, well, the first part of it's fact. Humans have been becoming smaller, dumber, and weaker over billions of years. The number of repeats on this planet, a minimum of 23. Genetic evidence for 23 different species of humans that have populated this planet. And you notice the light changing?
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice the light changing? It goes blink, blink. That happens a lot because all the energy around me. Anyway, so we all escaped from the continuous orgasm multiverse, and we eventually built up this shit show. And on this shit show, on this planet, there's 7.5 billion or whatever number of people. We all know one another because we all come from Planck length. We're all bosom buddies. We come from the little tiniest. We're all so intimately aware of each other. It's ridiculous. Right? We all know one another. Right? And that's everybody here. We also have friends that are stuck in that continuous orgasm. And so us humans have been becoming smaller, dumber, weaker, and more numerous so we can have more human vessels for escapees from continuous orgasm. And the newest ones, the latest ones, are the ones we put in as the elite, as the souls of the elite we assign to the Satan worshippers and blood drinkers. We assign the newest guys to them, okay? Because and so they live in fear, And why do they live in fear? It's God herself. She's fearful. It's where it comes from. Okay? Period. And so, seeing how they just got out of the loving thing, then they go immediately to fear because that's what's there. You got fear and love. That's duality. That's the root of duality is fear and love, which euphoria, double tech, expunges, eliminates. All right. So our satanic folks are here we give them the job of creating Loesch and enslaving us and creating angst and everything that the governments do, which is, which we are now exposing for ourselves. We are getting to see our own shit, by what we've created with these governments trying to kill us. So they're not trying; they're getting the job done. But they're not doing a mass extinction event, and the reason for that is that the Matrix movie that heretofore has always resulted in a mass extinction event. I mean, always, not just 23 times on this planet. Mars, very definitely, was completely, they shut it off the atmosphere. The atomic war that they had was so phenomenal. Tiamat, we blew that whole planet up. Mercury was populated a long time ago when the sun was smaller, and we found foundations or fortifications on Mercury. And it's all due to the spoken word. The spoken word is what I call a dastardly design feature that keeps us in duality and locks us into lineal time. And the spoken word requires lineal time. And so the elite come and they teach us languages, they teach us all this stuff, all of which is BS that keeps us locked in the shit show, doesn't it? Us as our human body. The human body has infinite awareness, and it can be separate from the Matrix movie, and that's our goal, is to actually become separate and not have all knowing at the same time. So that's where we're headed. A euphoric dream time is on the cards, and we're going into it very obviously.
Right. You told me the other night that all the evil is here on this planet Earth, and anything that comes through the Ethernet becomes love and pure at heart, I guess, positive.
All right.
But
Yeah,
everything here
yeah.
on Earth,
There are no evil aliens that got here from anywhere outside of the solar system, because obviously, you don't travel at the speed of light. It's kind of a, well, like the Pallades people say, it takes them 8 minutes to get here. The 400 million, 400, what is it, 400 light years away, and they
like,
come in 8 minutes. Well, it's not true. They come in instantly, but so they have to ha- have some form of teleportation to the ethers, which are made out of love. And the more you travel in the ethers, the more love you're going to pick up. It's a rule. Like attracts like. You can't get away from it.
mm,
So there are no evil extraterrestrials that have got here from somewhere else in this universe.
but
All the evil exists in the minds of men. And we do it.
right,
We did it.
right,
We're the nasty son of a bitches that do it to ourselves.
yeah,
We're masochistic. And
right.
then reading the way that we're masochistic is we've wiped out a whole number of multiverses to get to this shit show because we like our shit show so much. We replayed it, replayed it, and replayed it.
Yeah. In my book, Angels and Supernatural, I put the devil as being a human being. And just like you said, it's us, it's within us, the
Oh,
evil.
that's another one that tickles me.
What's that?
Excuse me, the human form.
Oh,
Yeah, where does the human form come from? Okay, our real spiritual shape is the Anu's ovoid, blob, or the orbs. That's the real spiritual shape of everything. So where's the human form? What's the purpose of the uniform? The answer is to kill one another so we can shrink the kids.
there's a lot of that going on right now, and we need some help.
Yeah. So the way that we shrink the kids is real simple. We're made. We're not our bodies. We're our Anu. That has contains all these memories. And it's also the the root cause of differentiation of all organisms. The science of genetics is refreshing. They don't know what causes full differentiation of any organism, but I do, and it's our aura. And there's all kinds of proof of that. And I got a paper written on it. And our aura contains Anus that the size of us now, the DNA part of our Anu that runs right through the middle of us, where the Kundalini rises, can remember, restore 48 minutes of a sequence of events. And so then the number of Anus that are with us right now is the length of time that's our past, present, future divided by 48. And all of those Anus are with us now. And the reason you know that is you put yourself in a Khazriev cylindrical mirror or Nostradamus mirrored egg on the inside. Put yourself in there. You're going to see your past, present, future, whether you want to or not. Okay, well, where did it come from?
Yeah, yeah, that's the mirror effect you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the DNA, and
Now you
so
talked about the ETs that come from through the Ethernet being nice. What about the ETs we think that are here, like the reptilians and the Nephilim, that type of ET? Are they the evil bloodsuckers that we talk about, Mike?
well, we all of that stuff we manifest, and well, it's all a function of the Archon. There, there's nothing more evil or more potent than the Archon. If they wanted to take out, for example, the there's a good reptilian race. If they wanted to take out the good reptilian race, it'd take about split second. Well, 3 seconds actually. There's kind of a speed limit in consciousness. 3 seconds uptake, and so the Archon, there's billions upon billions, like 100 billion, and the Gnostics figures are at 80 billion of them. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of Archon. They're like piranhas. What chance do you have against that? They're multidimensional bugs that live in the ethers. There is no evil beings here that do not kowtow to the Archon. If they don't, they get eaten, just like that, gone. You know, and there's nothing you can do about the Archon. If you're evil, other than do what they tell you to do. The good people, like Bubble Tech, the Archon, even like policemen and anybody that's living in fear cannot come into a bubble field because it forces all the fear out of their cells. It's like being in a microwave for them. Yeah. So let me go back to the human form. All right. The ETs have our DNA. They have our form because we make them. Period. There's time and space don't exist. It's all a movie. That's part of the movie. And like you said, it appears to be a computer simulation. The entire multiverse it is. The Zodiac can be solved with computer programs because it is a computer program.
Yeah, I always thought there's something else to that we're missing. Now we talk about, they said we were made in the image of God, and I guess you talked about the real God the other night. Could you tell us about that? We pray to God.
We're the real gods, and we designed the human body to, again, to create Loesch, to kill one another so we could shrink the kids. And the way that you shrink the kids, our Anu, remember it's 48 minutes now, okay? We all used to be giants.
Right. Yeah.
All of us, the souls, all of our souls have been here for millions of reincarnations, in the solar system. Mm-hmm. Okay. The millions of incarnations on this planet, let alone all the other planets that we've inhabited. Okay. And so, but we've been becoming smaller, dumber, and weaker. Everything else grows. Okay. Mm-hmm. Everything else grows due to the rule. WIMPs, weak interactive massive particles in space, grow. We don't. We become smaller, dumber, and weaker against the rule. So that's the design. Who designed it? We did.
And we don't live as long as we used to. And they said that we sinned, so they took away the years of our living, like Noah, and way back in the day, 960 years old, and now we're confined to about 100 years old of age right now. Who took that away from us? Did we design that ourselves?
We did. Everything is a function of our design. It's like I say, the human form and design. Our real design is the orb. Is the Anu. Right? Why do we design the human form? To kill one another, to fight one another. All right. And what does that do? It shrinks our Anu. Now, normal merging with another being or another anything is just that. It's a seamless merging, and both entities know the past, present, future of each other instantly. Okay. Well, it's 3-second thing. Mm-hmm. And that is normal. Okay, because of the rule, like attracts like, the two Anus get together, they share all the information, all that information, the past, present, futures in my Anu and your Anu. If we were to merge, I'd know the past, present, future of you, you'd know the past, present, future of me. And that is normal due to the rule. And there's no escaping the rule. It's God's law. All right. So what's abnormal? Abnormal is beating up on each other. Right. And in any manner, verbally, emotionally, and physically. So that Anu shrinks the other Anu in the process. And so that's how we've been getting smaller, dumber, and weaker. It's a design. Everything else grows. Humans getting smaller, dumber, and weaker, and more numerous. Excuse me. The more numerous thing is shows that this is chivalry. That we're killing each other off and beating each other up to shrink, so we can make more people on this planet, so that we can have more human vessels for our buddies escaping from the multiverse of continuous orgasm. We all come from there.
Wow.
We all come from love. We're all born in love.
The continuous orgasm. What is that like? I mean, we're thinking like sexual and all this other stuff, but the continual orgasm, that's euphoric, a euphoric attitude, I guess. Mike, is that?
Not exactly euphoric. It's just like orgasm. It's the continuous orgasm goes on in this solar system. The Monroe Institute, in their astral travels, have found these very bright communities of souls that they call eye specks that you can't approach because they're so bright. And if you get too close to them, you get sucked in.
Mhm.
You know? And so those are reflections of the very first orgasm multiverse. The first orgasm multiverse is just a natural, automatic progression of love. And the rule, you're going to wind up with a orgasm based multiverse. You know? So, and where the first orgasm came from, is from the Anu. All right. So herself went, I've been doing this for a long time. That the Anu automatically formed up, do the rules. She didn't have to do anything. It just happened. There was no like divine, oh, I'm going to do this. No, you're not. It just happened. Okay. And so when that very first Anu formed in one etheric cell, what happened next is that it mirrored off throughout all of the ethers that she'd been building. And it was like that. And so you have this massive explosion of love going on inside of her space. What is that?
Yeah.
surprised her to a great deal. And she still loves it. That's why it still goes on. And we, us idiots, we have legislated against it. Do not do the original sin.
Now, let's get back to Noah.
It's like you get
Extinction, the extinction thing that we I guess we do that ourselves, right? Like back in Noah's time, the Great Flood, we extinguished a lot of human life back then. Do that does that extinction happen quite a bit to us humans, Mike?
every time. The dark side has won every time until this time. You know, it's been the exact same timeline. If you read that timelines essay that I sent you, if you read that, it'll blow you away. You know, as to the number of times that we've had these mass extinction events, like I say, it's verifiably true 23 times on this planet because there's 20 genetic evidence for 23 different species of humans that have populated this planet, mostly giants. Okay, and some of them are really big too. 100 or 200 feet tall. With 19, 20, and so on like that. We were big. That was us. And if you look into those giants, okay, you will find that they're egotistical, warring, dangerous. To get anywhere near them, like the giant they found in Afghanistan that speared the soldier and had him up on the spear, and then they wasted him. They had they had a whole platoon there with
that was in 2000.
assault rifles, and they took him out.
Kandahar 2001. L.A. Marzulli put that story out. I read that, had him as a guest, and he talked about that. And it's a Nephilim that's underground, right? They're hiding out underground.
I don't know who they are. It doesn't matter. It's just something we made. That was us. That's a former iteration of us, and there's been a lot of them, and they're all egotistical and warring, fighting. Because we got to shrink the kids, so that's what they do.
Right. So we extinguish ourselves. We just remove ourselves from the planet. Not all of us. I mean, like Noah was left with a pair of each, species of animal and human. So, but I don't think it was. I think it was DNA that he took with him, and then
when you see it in this, what we think of as reality, when you see it, it's not the first time. It's not the first time. You've done it before. Otherwise, you wouldn't be seeing it. And Noah, and like I love this one. There have been, verifiably, 16 Jesus figures that have walked this planet with mirror image lifetimes. Born to a virgin on the 25th, change the water to the wine, raise a guy from the dead, and wind up nailed to a tree at 33. All 16 of them. Okay? We just change the names to protect the idiots, so that we don't figure out that those really fine details extend to the entire shit show. Like, for example, Noah that you're asking about. Not the first time.
Right. Now, when did the first Jesus come about? You said 16 of them. When did the first one come about? And then the last one?
The first one came about when time went into the first etheric cell and had to spin up on itself and creating the DNA part of the Anu. That's Vishnu or Jesus. That's when he first started.
Okay. So you got
And then
Son and the feminine divine, right?
there's no, yeah, because that's a male form of God. So you wind up with male Jesus figures versus female Jesus figures. There are female Jesus figures, but not that many of
Oh, okay. And do they go out to the other galaxies and the other planets? Do they represent all life forms?
them. It's a hall of mirrors that every everywhere, in parallel realms. This whole universe, what we got, it mirrors off like a slide carousel, with each one of the slides there
Mm-hmm.
is a universe. And it's 2D like that, because everything starts in 2D. But then you stick your head in it, bang, you got an entire universe like Aladdin's tent, you know? And so we've got all of these universes that mirror off that have to go around the circle, and big toroid do the rule. They got to circle back on themselves. And they're all very similar to here. If you go there, which the Monroe Institute has done, as well as there's all kinds of evidence of things. Well, this is how you know that we're the top of we're the apex of idiocy right here, planet Earth. And the way you know that is you have all kinds of stuff leaving here, okay? Like in the Bermuda Triangle and the Devil's Triangle, which is, over Southeast Asia area. You got ships, all kinds of stuff that disappears. Excuse me, why don't we have stuff coming back? The answer is because shit runs downhill. And
It does seem like we're involved in a cycle of killing and wars and pain and suffering, and it breaks the monotony, like you said. That's why they do it. The elites, you talked about the other night, the elites, the Vatican, and the big rich families and the banks. They control the world. They're the ones who we assigned. You said we've actually
yeah,
put
right.
and
Yeah, in order to preserve the shit show, you need lots of losh, okay? And so you need people that will influence us to make losh. So we do.
okay. So is the Vatican, the Pope, is he the big shot?
uh, so the big shot in what? In the
Is he in charge?
yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. The yeah, the control system for the evil folks amongst us is, yes, the Vatican, but they themselves are controlled by the Jesuits, who get their information from the Archon, and they don't know that they're working for the bugs. If they knew that they were working for the bugs, you'd think they'd stop, but they don't know that they work for the bugs.
Hmm. Okay,
That's just obvious. People keep carrying on doing crazy stuff.
we mentioned timelines and versus dreamlines. What did you mean by that? Timelines versus dreamlines, Mike?
Well, there's been a lot of fluffhead talk about parallel realms and parallel timelines and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And however, excuse me very much, there's only been one real timeline for our physical reality, only one movie. And the way that you know that is the ending is always the same. And it gets into the proof, which I have here, the proof of the Matrix. Here, I'll read it off to you. It'll blow you away. Yeah, this is what bubble tech is all about, and it's what we need to get away from. And you want me to read it? Or do you want you to read it?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, boom, break out of the Matrix. You must. We have already done that. and we're just now going through the death throes of our evil creations. Obviously, in order to let go of a problem, first you have to look at it, admit that it's yours, and then let it go. That's standard psychoanalysis. That's what's going on right now.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And so here's the proof that we're in a movie from Merlin's essay, Timelines versus Dreamlines. And I want to make the point here that I've written down the explanation of genetics, the explanation of all of physics, the most difficult questions in physics, really simple, and history, and it goes on and on, cosmology, on and on. So there's no way that one guy did that. Okay, although it is one guy, so it is me, my physical body, being run around by the movie. And this physical body has had all of those beings installed into it. Simon Peter, Thor, Prometheus, Merlin, Saint Germain. The Saint Germain one's big time.
No.
Patent, okay, General Patent. All of those are with me. And so it's like a condensation of past lives to right now, because the timelines are all merging. But there's only been one timeline. And the way that you know that, it's always into the mass extinction event. So let me explain about the matrix here. The end result's always the same, mass extinction event. Thus, every action during the epoch is a mirror of the previous epoch. An epoch being the time between a genesis event and a mass extinction event. And there's Earth epochs by Mr. Jensen. He tell you about it. Since the end result is the same, then all of the videos in our past, present, future have to march in lockstep to the very end. That right there is proof that the timeline has been the same all along. Same exact ship show. Okay. The past, present, future of all things exists in video form stored in Anus around everything. All videos from the past, present, future march in lockstep in order for there to be a coherent now. The root storage mechanism of all videos memories is the God particle, Anu. It has not changed its form or function. Therefore, the memories are sticking with us. Thus, in order to totally lose the shit show, the form and function of the Anu has to change. And as explained, and you can see it, and Euphoria is here changing it now, right now. And you can see it in that essay. The euphoric teams, you can actually see what it looks like. And you see the pine cone shape, not only the Anu, but us. So, and an eternally euphoric dream time ensues, not a dream line, which are collective dreams that are not manifest into the physical, like the Mandela effect. Those are dream lines. Timeline, the timeline is what we're on, is the reality. 16 Jesus figures with mirror meets lifetimes. We change the name so that us puppets don't catch on. Might be a clue to the repeating fine details of the one timeline, which means that all epochs have the same 16 Jesus figures and the same Noah thing and the same alien thing and the same every freaking thing. It repeats and repeats and repeats. It's bullshit. It's just a hoax, right? Because where we come from is blank. It's a blank canvas. The ethers are a blank canvas. And on those ethers, you have to have, well, you don't have to have it. You could just stay the ethers, which you have herself and himself, is make up the ethers. All right. And so it's a blank sheet. And the only source of images, possible source of images, is us. Because if herself or himself had actually ever done anything, it would change the entirety of everything, the whole multiverse. They haven't done anything. All they do is provide support for us. We're the kids. We're shrinking the kids. Fine, shrink the kids. And so that's what's going on here. You got the background screen, and you got us in our subconscious and collectively all making everything, every rock, every flea fart, absolutely everything springs from our subconscious, not our physical brain. Our physical brain is just the hoax. Anyway,
matter is all frequency, and we are all frequencies, right?
No, absolutely not. That's and they misquote Tesla. When you think of the universe, think of matter and or think of frequency in this, whatever he said, whatever they said, not true, because he knew about the ethers. Okay, and so again, everything starts as a seed or an idea in darkness. There is no vibrations there. Okay, and then so that idea mirrors up through the ethers and grows as it does. It doesn't start into vibrations until it passes through the pentagonal ethers and gets into the hexagonal ethers. Mm-hmm. The hexagonal ethers is where you have toroid formation. You have to have a toroid, a Tesla toroid, and the way that Tesla wound his toroid is the exact way that toroids form in the ethers. And out of the center of the toroid, you have electromagnetic waveforms. That's just really brain dead physics. That's how it works, period. That's the toroid that Marconi stole from Tesla to do wireless communication. Okay. And like I say, that's in my essays, it shows how Tesla wound this toroid. And then you compare that to some Anus. What happens is you got 7 image only realms that are flat to make one physical realm. And the way that happens is that the Anus lay down in the one etheric realm at a 90, okay, and they communicate with Anu in the adjacent realm, and then gravity starts, and that's an affinity for information. All this information's in the DNA part of the Anu, and so the DNA part of the next Anu picks it up, which is again why when you have actual merging, the past, present, future of each other, because it's all there in the Anu of both parties, right? And so when an Anu gets to that point, it's automatic. It grabs onto the information. That's gravity. It's an affinity for information. So that's the first thing that forms when you go into toroid formation. One Anu lays down, communicates with Anu in the next etheric realm. It does the same until you get to the 7th one, and then they can circle up into a hexagonal ether. And the reason that the hexagonal ether has 7 components, got 6 sides, obviously, but the center part is the God part, okay? And that gap is where the information comes from that gets broadcast in the toroid. And so then the toroids form up in the ethers, okay? That's how you do, that's where you get and that the root of the number 7. Nobody on this planet, no physicist, nobody can tell you exactly what the root of the number 7 is. I have just done that, and I got a couple essays that lay it out. And nobody knows what I just got done telling you. And it's really simple. Again, like I say, it's all do the rule. It's not like maybe. All right, and so then you got toroids in the ethers, and then the toroids do the rule, start clanging together. When they clang together, they make music. And so you got the music of the spheres that progresses according to the Fibonacci series, because the toroids, according to the rule, have to attract one another. But because they were made in a sequence, okay, just one and another one and another one. It wasn't like the Anu that went instantly created an orgasm. Toroids, they're made. There's a little bit of time involved in making a toroid. That's the 3-second thing. And so then the way that they climb together is according to the Fibonacci series. Thus, everything in the entire observable universe manifests according to the Fibonacci series. Period. Might be a clue that it's a movie.
Let me ask you a couple of, I guess, novice questions here. Where is the end of space and time, and how long have we been here on Earth? 4.5 billion years that we've been recycling? Those 2 questions.
No, it's the movie. The movie is 4.5 billion years. Everything outside of the movie is hoax, like the dinosaurs. There is no 67 million year history. There's only a 4.5 million year history. And how many times the 4.5 million year shit show is played? Like I said, a minimum of 23 times on this planet. Actually, I think it's more like 40. And so that's that. And excuse me. Genetic evidence.
Right.
The geneticists have tracked 110,000 mammals through 5 mass extinction events that they can study. Okay. And what they found is that during the mass extinction event, 90% of the DNA leaves the planet. What's left over is just 10%, cockroaches and ferns and mycelium. That's about it. Right? And then during the Genesis event, the geneticists found that the exact same DNA reemerges on planet Earth with the exact same memories. And so we replay the exact same shit show. Exact. Okay. There's a little bit of creativity that goes on, obviously, but not a lot.
Even when we come from Mars and inhabited the Earth, is that true also? That our human
there isn't anything outside of us. All of that we look at, we think of being outside of us, is actually inside of us. It's another one that I love about the red shift and the Big Bang Theory. And so, cosmologists have been looking for blue shifting a blue shifting galaxy to prove that the Big Bang Theory is not correct. Okay, they've been looking for that. So they've been looking at for a long time. And so the rule is like attracts like, so they found it. And what they found, and they found 2 blue shifting galaxies. One of them is a proto-galaxy, an offspring, and it's still connected by an umbilical cord to the original larger galaxy that spawned it. Okay. Big problem though. They're blue shifting at different rates, which is millions of miles an hour, which is not possible. It's like, wait a minute.
Back to the one question. Where's the end of space? I remember a friend of mine when I was only 8 years old. He said, think about it. Where is the end of space at?
And the blue wall. It's a very dark blue wall. When you get there, you'll know you're there.
Oh,
this whole universe is in an etheric cell, and it's a very dark blue wall when you get to it.
Okay, well, what's on the other side of that dark blue wall? Is there any?
Well, on the other side of it, there's a gap. Okay, mirrors off, just like the Anu's mirrored off in this one, and then you got another entire universe. That's why the slide carousel, it's got a gap between each one of the slides.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and it just goes on and on and on infinity, right?
No, it goes around the circle.
Okay, circle. That's it. Yeah, that's an infinity. That's circle. Now you talk about. Let's get into this bubble tech. I know that you wanted to talk about that. There's been a lot of miracles that have been performed by the bubble tech. Could you tell us about that, Mike?
Off the scale, unmatched in human history, unbelievable, mind-boggling. Been going on for 7 years, and then there's some translator guys that have been going on for a decade prior to that. Translators being Wilhelm Reich's cloudbusters with the big long pipes. Well, those things are really powerful because they condense the person's intentions, and they've been used to stop hurricanes and stuff for years. Bubble tech is because we broadcast, we do actually bigger miracles than a translator can do. Translator can focus on one thing and change it. Okay, whereas bubble tech can focus on one very large thing and change it, which we've done. We in 2019 was a big year for us. The fires were going in Australia. Australian bushfires are frightening. They move at 100 miles an hour. They've found people sitting at their table, cooked, because the fire went by and the family was sitting around the table when it got them. And so those fires are a big deal in Australia. And so we made it rain in Australia, put out all the fires, okay, saving over 500 million animals alone in Australia. We made it rain in the Amazon, and the Amazon one is, we sent euphoria one day, and the rain started the following day, which is normal. The rain started the following day in a part of the Amazon where during that time of the year it has never rained, ever, recorded history. But we made it rain, okay, and that put out all the fires in the Amazon. And then the same thing in the Congo, And the same thing in Siberia. Siberia was in real bad shape because there were navigable rivers that had dried up, you know, and we made it rain there and changed that. Now, a big point about all of this is that we, us people with our bubbles, did that irrefutably. We did that without leaving the farm. And so there is no there. There's only so where we did that and where bubble tech does its manifestation is in our center chakra, the heart chakra. You know, it's in the center of us because that is where everything comes from. It's closest. You know, everything that's human and humane comes from there. And so we're installing euphoria there. You know, and euphoria is much more powerful than love or fear because it expunges love and fear, and you can't stop euphoria. Resistance is futile. You know, so bubble tech is going to lead to the dream time, and because we're saving lives, like I said, so at least 500 million. The fires killed at least 500 million animals until we stopped them. So we saved easily 500 million animals. Same in the Amazon, same in Congo and Siberia. So, you know, 500 million, 500 million, 500, you know, it's a big number. We saved a lot of animals. The numbers of people we saved is unknowable. It's a very large number. And a great deal of them from their deathbed, which I sent you one like that. Yeah. There are a couple, you know, I sent you, you know, where the people around the latest one, the lady was vomiting black, you know, which is due to renal failure. And that's the end time, that's death. Everybody in this hospital that has come in vomiting black stuff dies, except this lady. We sent her euphoria, and it was just like that. She got happy, and now she's out of the hospital and fine.
Let me bring that page up so you know, let me bring that up.
Yeah, and it goes on with our miracles. We've either stopped or mitigated all hurricanes that people tell us about. The one that just happened in New Zealand, nobody told us about it. If they told us about it, we'd have stopped it.
Right.
But they didn't, so they got smacked.
Here's the screen up now, Mike. It's Bubble Tech is the world's largest and most important project, and there's a young girl. I guess she was saved.
Yeah, Samara. That's something that me as Merlin desired when we changed. That happened the same time that we made it rain in Australia and put out all the fires. So let's have another miracle to prove that it's us that did it. And so that Samara is that miracle. And she was leukemia and had been on chemotherapy for a long time. She hadn't walked in 3 weeks. And we sent her euphoria. Overnight, she lost 2 kilos of water retention and she walked the following day.
Now, when you send the euphoria, what are you sending actually?
Euphoria is the human emotion.
Right.
It's not her self's emotion. It's not himself's emotion. It's a human emotion of little kids that are euphoric all the time. You know, it's like you got a bunch of little kids, you know, and you tell them you're going to go on a field trip tomorrow. They're all excited, jumping up and down. Yay, field trip.
Okay.
They don't know where they're going. They don't care.
Okay. And there's a picture of the fires, and you've got some testimony here, I think. You know.
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
Blow you away. Tamara, to read what she said.
Okay, let me see. Go back. Let's see. Punctuate the fact. Well, okay. Okay, to punctuate the fact that the bubble tech did all of those miracles, we found a human to save. This Australian girl, 11-year-old Samara, who had been on chemo for leukemia for some time. She had not walked in 3 weeks. The following day, she got up and walked. She lost 2 kilos of water, just as you said, retention overnight, and went home a couple of days later with 0 detectable cancer. We requested such a healing to solidly prove that we'd made the miraculous rain in Australia and put out the fires. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's amazing. So you can use that technology at any time that you want.
Yeah. Well, it's timeless. It's the neat part. The neat part about bubble tech is that you take, for example, the Maharishi effect. All right. The way the Maharishi effect works is they've done this 40 times. They've uh, cut the crime rate in half in 40 different cities, and even cut the war rate in half in Beirut. They did. That's Maharishi effect. You can look it up. It's the most studied phenomena in the social sciences. And so the way the Maharishi effect works is that you have a bunch of people, transcendental meditators, meditating at the same time, and they're just doing TM. They're not like intending to cut the crime rate or anything like that. All they do is TM, and so they have to do it at the same time and pretty much the same place. And when you get the right quantum, the right number of people doing TM in one place together, the following day you have the crime rate just drops off instantly. You know, and so it's the 100th idiot effect or the 100th monkey effect, or it's the Maharishi effect. You got to hit the quantum, okay, of folks doing it, and you got to be doing it at the same time. Bubble tech doesn't need that.
Well, we could sure use more bubble tech right now with all the crime that we have around the world, Mike, and all the morals that are just sinking down, really rapidly. We have a world that's in chaos. What's going to bring an end to this chaos, Mike?
The military.
The military.
That's the other aspect of me, General Patton and Saint Germain. I'm very connected to the military. The top of Q reads my writings. Q is 800 general officers and all of the and all of the militaries on the planet, and the top white guys from the intelligence age, all the intelligence agencies, all of the agencies, including the governments, have white darks and fence sitters, and all the fence sitters have chosen sides, and so we basically now have just white and dark folks in agencies and the militaries and so on and so forth, and that's all being the dark folks are being expunged at such a phenomenal rate. I don't know why they don't give up. There are well, I know I'm a military intelligence guy. His job is to get rid of the super soldiers that the elite put together from the space fleet when they used to control the space fleet, and those super soldiers, they go up 20 and back, but they get age regressed. So when they come back, they're as if they never left. But when they do the age regression, they can install a program in them that's like a Manchurian candidate. When they hear, you get a phone call or even like a broadcast, they hear a certain word and it's a trigger. And so a whole bunch of them have been triggered here recently, as evidenced by these sleeper cells that are derailing rail cars, for the purpose of screwing up the supply system and the food chain. And doing all these mass shootings and doing these, the HARP things like, wiping out 10 cities in Turkey, over 100,000 people they took out. No one tells you about that. There were 46, I think, earthquakes right in a row. There was no one epicenter, and so that was done by HARP, and so it's all these sleeper cells that have been activated to all this shit what we see what's going on right now. And so those sleeper cells have been decimated by my military intelligence guy and his crew. They're Delta Force, the Delta Force guys, elite Delta Force guys, and they go out and they take out the sleeper cells, and they have taken out 300,000 of them. 300,000 of those super soldiers. There's so many. They made enough super soldiers to put one on every block in every city on the planet. That's what they say. I don't know if it's that many, but it's pretty close, because they've taken out 300,000 of them and they're still out there operating, as is obvious. And
are these factual figures, Mike, that you got a hold of through Q, or is this all conspiracy type stuff?
Well, the military intelligence guy is real. and he meets with the Donald regularly. When I want to write to Donald, I send it to the top of queue, and then he gets my messages from the ultimate security outfit on the planet. And so all of these stuff that I'm sharing with you is is factual, but there's nobody going to write it down, and put their name on it and say, yeah, we did that until after, the emergency broadcast system, maybe come out during the emergency broadcast system.
We've been hearing this quite a bit, and this is why I guess a lot of the news information, the internet, social platforms, they want to get rid of those conspiracies, and we'd all like to know the real truth and not the disinformation or misinformation. Uh, but we've heard this over and over and over that there's going to be changes, that Trump is going to come back and all this other stuff. It never happens. It's all misinformation and disinformation from what all we gather. And I think a lot of the media platforms are right to say that it could be all conspiracy. I mean, that's the way I look at it, and the way I guess a lot of people look at it, that we're in for changes, but we don't know where we're going.
Well, they're looking wrong. We have idiots, yeah. And the problem has been the cabal, and the reason that it's a problem is because they have these fail-safe situations where they protect themselves. Okay, and one of them was that they had every bridge in the United States and every concrete dam, like across the Mississippi and all the rivers, set to blow. They blew one as a beta test in Minneapolis, the bridge across the Mississippi, steel bridge, fell into the Mississippi at free fall speed. Well, steel doesn't fail like that. So they had tested that.
There's been a lot of things happen that draws a little suspicion for most people, and especially myself. I take a look at it, but we can't prove anything. And that's the thing that, the media and all of them, some media want the proof, actual proof. There's some media that works from the shooting from the hip, but I think that's wrong. But no, let's kind of end up with here. We're actually gonna, let people know how they can get a hold of your information and that type of thing. We're also going to talk about your email address and your PayPal account. I wanted to ask you this last question. We are headed into a euphoric dream time wherein all of our ideas become things instantly, even before we finish the thought. And that's going to be our end times, right, Mike?
Right. That's where we're going. It's like when you're in spirit, you ask a question, the answer comes before you can finish answering the question.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is the ethers are conscious. And they know what you want, and they give it to you. The same is true of teleportation. This you can look up. We've done teleportation a lot, humans. Okay, we have better technology than aliens. In fact, Gene Decode has talked about it. That the Runnymede, that place out by Jupiter, where the moon, where all kinds of different races meet. They come to buy our technology because it's better than theirs.
Really?
We have yes.
Oh, there is no back engineering from us.
No, well, there was. It mirrors both ways.
Yeah.
But Area 51 did that. I have equity in it.
Yeah, well, you're telling me that
in the space fleet.
Yeah. Well, what about, and also in Area 51, you said there's evil going on there, Mike?
Yeah, underneath Area 51, they're doing satanic rituals.
Okay.
Underneath all the Mormon Tabernacle and every major church on the planet, underneath it, they have satanic rituals that they do. And these are all on ley lines, so they can spread the Loesch. We put them up to that. That's the best way for them to spread Loesch. Bubble tech doesn't need the ley lines. We don't need time. When we do our miracles, we don't have to all meet at once. Okay. All we have to do is use our bubbles, which are basically capacitance fields, and those capacitance fields are non-polar, 2D, timeless. And so whenever we do an intention, amongst ourselves, doesn't matter when we do it, as long as we do it. Yeah. And as long as you do the intention, it goes into the gap between the capacitance plates, okay? And that gap is seed level of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we put euphoria and an image in there, it happens. You get enough of us doing it, it happens. There's only like 5,000 or maybe more people with bubbles. Supposedly, when we get to 50,000, there'll be dream time. I
Wow.
don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a standing order to the military to start making, when they are done scraping the bad folks off the planet. I've got a standing order. Start making the whole military, every military, start making bubbles and stop when we get to dream time. You'll know.
Okay. Now, I just saw a notice in one of my newsletters that said the military is being trained to fight in tunnels and underground. So apparently that
Yeah, yeah.
is started.
That was years ago, quite a few years ago. They spent $500 million training the army. There's in the United States, there's say 36 brigades, something like that. 33 of them have been trained to the cost of and equipped to fight underground. And that's what they've been doing, and that's been since the China Lake thing, you know. But actually, the blowing up of the dams and tunnels started when the Bummer got in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you remember, way back then, they were talking about these booms all over the planet. That people were hearing these booms, didn't know where they were coming from.
Right.
What that was taking out dams with tactical nukes.
Okay. That's what I heard too. I heard that information, but
Yeah, right. So that's what's been going on. So
we never,
for the idiots that don't think that the RV and all that's coming, find a new planet. You're an idiot.
all
and
the
and
things that happen
do
soon.
not go around any military. Do not thank the military. Just stay away. Go find a hole in the ground and stay there.
So this is all going to happen soon, right, Mike?
Yeah, it's probably real soon. Well, Jasara says there can't be any wars going on the planet before the RV. All the wars have to stop. So we still got the underground war going on, and we still have Ukraine going on.
Yeah,
Those according to Jasara, have to stop. Now maybe they've worked a way around that. I don't know, because Iraq, their budget is before Parliament right now. And so tomorrow, they could sign off on the budget, and which would include the new rate, exchange rate for the dinar, and that's it. We're into it.
Okay.
But there's a couple other things that need to happen before that. I know what they are. There's triggers, that have to happen before the RV, and I'm right connected to those also.
Wow.
When those triggers come down, and then, it's kind of melodramatic. We're going to know when the RV is coming.
Okay. We're gonna end the show on that one. This is a particularly long show. I usually don't do them past an hour, but I wanted to get in all the information. It's going to still take several shows to get all the information and what you talk about. But I just wanted to end by saying, Mike Emery, I appreciate you coming here. But also, there's donations on PayPal at your email 1948 Emery 10 Emery 10.
No, just 1948 Emery at Gmail.
Okay, 1948 Emery at Gmail. Okay.
Put it underneath the video.
Yeah, I will do that. I'll put that in the content section of the video. Okay, and could you tell us where we can find some of your work? Academia.edu is one of them.
Yeah, Mike Emery Academia. On Facebook, Bubble Tech is a private group because we don't trust Facebook. So you have to ask to join. And you get on there and you start surfing all the way down through what's been going on. You'd be totally amazed. There's one thing, there's magic in the air, and it lists hundreds upon hundreds, approaching thousands of miracles that we've done. And that's not even half of what's actually happened, over the 7 years we've been going. It's just miracle after miracle.
Right. It sounds like a international prayer chain or a prayer group, but it's stronger than prayers, right?
Yeah, we get it done.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mike Emery, it's been great having you on the show, and I went particularly long, like I said, but I wanted to, and we'll have you back again if you will come back. I enjoy talking to you. I know I had a long chat with you the other night, and it was great.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but it's like one of mine that I got. What do you do for fun? Destroy people's concept of reality.
Yeah, that happened to me too. I mean, the Matrix and the holographic world. Yes, I believe that that's coming to fruition. That people are going to know this before long. I'd like to close by saying thank you very much, Mike Emery, physicist, and also, I mean, somebody who teaches the professors and the scientists things. He doesn't teach college per se, but he went to college and he studied, uh, this physics and things of that nature. So he has a good, well-rounded, I guess, self-education and reading and also experimenting and doing things. And he's much appreciated. Your viewpoints are really different, and I think we need to put that all together to make the put the pieces of the puzzle together to make it all work. And I want to thank you very much, Mike Emery, and from the UK for being on the show. This is the Dave Emmons Show, and we're going to be signing off. And thank you everybody for listening and watching. Good evening.